There's one final twist to this story. A year after the Bangladesh bank attack took place, another incident happened with a completely different nature and shape.
So when we were looking at the Bangladesh bank heist, the way that we were able to attribute that was by looking at a sample of malware used and seeing overlaps between that and the Sony Pictures case previously.
Every threat actor has their own style, their own personality, their own blueprint that they will leave on the network.
With Wannacry, it was a similar story, looking at the malware that they used and seeing overlaps between previous attacks and malware that the same group have used.
You should be most afraid of your lack of understanding of the current cybersecurity market. You should be most afraid of the things that you don't know exist yet.
The attackers set up 3 shared email addresses for the ransoms to be paid to. Now, one of the problems with this was that the attackers couldn't keep track of which victims had paid the ransom and which hadn't. So this also in turn indicates that they potentially weren't going to decrypt or return the files to the users at all.
So when you look at the Bangladeshi bank heist itself, it was a very simple movement of money through 4 RBC accounts that had been set up probably 12 to 18 months beforehand by a number of individuals. And obviously that worked so far on the $81 million. When you look at Wannacry, which was 18 months later, you look at the fact they've moved into the digital currency, Bitcoins, where there's encryption and it's less visible where that money's going. So, but on the Wannacry case, we've actually monitored the accounts there, and actually not a lot of money is actually paid out in the Wannacry campaign.
The attackers actually didn't manage to collect that much ransom money from the victims. It only ended up being a fraction of what we see from other criminal operations.
So I think once again, with the Wannacry piece, failed because a number of authorities have been monitoring the Bitcoin wallets that money has been paid for and paid into, and it hasn't been touched.
The group that this is attributed to are changing their tactics. We at BAE Systems have seen previous incarnations of that group in the Sony attack, and I think that's a reflection on the current state of the world, particularly the financial markets. There is a lot of change going on. Financial institutions, governments are continually developing the fight against fraud, against threats. So the people who are perpetrating those threats actually need to keep up with that.
But I think once again, this is an opportunity to learn more about how to launder money, how to hide where that money is coming from, and obviously where it's going to. So I think it's the next step in probably a longer game.
So there's no need for you and I, everyday people on the street, to be concerned by the level of sophistication that's going into these cyber attacks. These are attacks on institutions, and there is a global response. SWIFT, the financial transactions network, as well as the institutions, as well as key industry partners, have responded to this emerging threat and will continue to respond to the threat. What's important is that as a security industry, we don't actually overreact from these types of attacks.
In this new digital world that we're building, some things never change. There have been spies, vandals and thieves for centuries, and there will continue to be so. So in some ways, nothing's changed. But at the same time, the techniques and the mechanisms that are being used will continue to evolve, and they'll continue to change fast. Businesses, governments and individuals need to be on the guard and working to make sure we can keep up.